He will, as you mentioned, be delivering remarks to Iowa Democratic caucus goers this evening from Washington via video link. And he will use that opportunity to thank his supporters in Iowa, who will turn out by the thousands, for what they did 4 years ago in showing up at the caucuses in record numbers and delivering him an important and historic victory.
Well, that was White House spokesman Jay Carney moments ago talking about President Obama's plans to rally the Democratic troops in Iowa tonight. These two polls may show the reason why. The latest NBC Marist poll is finding only 45% of Iowa voters approve of the job the president is doing. Anything under 50% is considered not good for an incumbent president. The current numbers are a far cry from a Gallup poll taken during Mr. Obama's first 6 months in office. Back then, his job approval in Iowa was a very robust 61%. Leslie Marshall is a syndicated radio host and a Fox News contributor, and Lars Larson is also a syndicated radio host. All right, guys, so it's interesting because all eyes are on the Republicans, and it seems, you know, the Democrats, President Obama, may be feeling a little ignored, understandably, but that's because he, of course, already has the nomination for his party. Lars, does he need to rally his support here in Iowa, given those numbers we're talking about here?
I think he has to rally his support all across America, Megyn, because Americans have figured out that hopey-changey thing, to paraphrase Governor Palin, didn't work out very well for most Americans. And I think that's reflected in the poll numbers that you just cited. The fact is, Americans heard the president's promises, and they understand that he didn't come through with them. He was not a uniter. He didn't keep unemployment below 8.5%. He didn't bring jobs to America, and he didn't restrain federal spending. This is a problem for the president, and I think it's going to be a problem all the way to November.
Leslie, you know, the president's got 20 paid employees here, his campaign. He's got 8 offices in Iowa. He's going to be talking to his supporters via a live internet video feed tonight. He's actually going to take some questions. His remarks begin at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, right smack dab in the middle of the GOP Iowa caucuses. He obviously considers it important to stay part of the conversation in this state, to the extent that he has not been part of that conversation except to be receiving attacks over the past weeks and months. How damaging is that, do you think, to the Democratic side?
I actually don't think it's damaging because we are a lifetime away. I mean, what happens in Iowa in November is key to President Barack Obama. And certainly I would agree with you, Lars, on a national level, he on the left, as well as those on the right, have to rally the troops. But like he said on Jay Leno, he's going to wait until everyone is voted off the island. Right now, the spotlight is on Republicans. And right now, that's why, because he's got his place on the platform. This is not a caucus for him. This is a caucus for the Republicans. The real test, obviously, is going to be with the voters in Iowa and the rest of the country in November.
Megyn, I got to disagree with Leslie, because here's the thing. The president, Leslie suggesting that all he has to worry about is his opponent. No, he has to worry about his employers. His employers are the American public. Has he performed for the American public? 3 years in, he hasn't. And he said, if it's 3 years in and I really haven't done the job, then it's going to be a one-term presidency. I think the president's prediction is going to be absolutely right. He hasn't performed for his employers. And if all he's worried about is how do I beat the Republican, whichever one wins the nomination, the president is missing the point. He's disconnected from voters and he's disconnected from the American public. He's off having rounds of golf and taking $4 million vacations to Hawaii.
That's right, Lars, Republican president.
And you dare to take a vacation, Leslie. Listen, he carried Iowa by 9 points over John McCain, who was, you know, not a staunch conservative John McCain. He was considered a little bit more moderate, but nonetheless lost handily to President Obama in a pretty conservative state, Leslie. I mean, it's a little bit more purple, but certainly on the GOP side, it's more conservative. What does it say to you that the president is already starting to, you know, interject himself in Iowa politics? He's got this ground game going in Iowa. Is this a must-win state for him? And should he be concerned given the drop in that approval rating from 61% to 45%?
Honestly, I know Lars is going to think I'm nuts, but no, because you're looking at after an election when you're on the, as Lars would say, hopey-changey, upswing at the beginning of a presidency. You're looking at a very different situation, and we're not just talking on the left, and we're not just talking for the president. I mean, Congress is what, a 16% approval rating among voters,
I think
left
you're being
or
generous.
right? Yeah, you're right. You're right. I gave a double digit there, right, Megyn? But I mean, the bottom line is this is a very different time, not only for the economy, where we as a nation stand, not only economically, but with foreign relations. And look, this is going to be a tough election for both people, on the left and the right, and the president knows that. He is getting into the game in a sense because he is getting closer to seeing who's going to be on that platform. The election's in November. And quite frankly, he hasn't been in Iowa as these other candidates have. Personally, I don't think he should be doing this via web. I think he should be there in person, but that would cost money, and
Yes,
Lars would be very upset with that.
No.
Lars, it costs money, Lars.
I agree with Leslie about that. And here's the thing: to the extent that Iowa has any predictive ability about the way the race is going, I think it has this. The chairman of the GOP in Iowa told me last night on my radio show they've had 33 months of party registration growth in that state. Now that tells you something. It tells you that even though Iowa went for Obama, Iowa has been falling away from Obama for the last 2.5 years. That's a major problem when you realize that the candidate who says, oh, I've already got the nomination, great, but you're losing the people who've got to vote for you in November. I think he's in trouble and he knows it, and he ought to be there in person.
All right, guys, we're going to have to leave it at that for now. Thank you so much, Leslie and Lars. We'll talk to you later in the week when we finally know the results of the first in the nation Iowa caucuses.